One of the things that you said, and I'm going to paraphrase, is that most work, instead of trying to succeed, is trying to not fail.
Generally, there's been an undercurrent and a conversation in the country about the quality of the work in our industry.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, I think we're still sitting at a place where the bulk of the work, certainly more than we are comfortable with, is trying to not fail. So if you see a lot of mediocre to bad work coming from one brand, it affects the way you feel about that.
It becomes vanilla wallpaper.
Exactly.
Leaving very little breathing room for the consumer themselves and the people in agencies to have time to really think through their work.
Because we're all trying to dodge ads. Nobody loves ads. Everybody hates it. Why would you put yourself on air knowing that you look or feel like something else? How does that make financial sense when by nature, by definition, by role, by purpose, a marketer has to find the white space? That's the job, positioning, find an open space. And yet, I wrote this one post once, but it seems like we're trying so hard to make all our ads look more like ads.
This is true.
Why are we doing that? You know, so, I mean, the summary, the takeout is like, if you're not different, you're dead.
On The Lead Creative, we often ask what makes marketing truly effective, not just provocative, but commercially and culturally meaningful. In this series, we speak to Effie Award South Africa jurors, marketers, and agency leads to explore what drives real impact. The Effies celebrate ideas that grow brands, shift perception, and build relevance. We unpack what makes winning work, how top brands think about effectiveness, and the role of brave, bold ideas in marketing today. Because the Effies, in our view, aren't just about what you made or created, but what it truly achieved. Share your thoughts on some of the most impactful marketing work you've seen recently. And please share this conversation and subscribe to The Lead Creative. We're now joined by the legendary Ahmed Tilly, the founder and creative consultant of Number 10.
And OG.
And OG. Yeah, well, our team called him an OG there behind the scene, and he is an OG. OG and legend are the same.
Legend, I don't know. OG, I definitely. Old for sure.
So when we last spoke 2 years ago, almost, in fact, probably a little bit over 2 years ago, when we last spoke, we spoke at length about brave marketing, brave advertising, which is something that you're very passionate about and you talk about a lot. You were co-chair this year at the Effie Awards South Africa. And one of the things that you said, and I'm going to paraphrase, is that most work, instead of trying to succeed, is trying to not fail. What have you seen this year out of the Effie Awards, out of the work that's coming out 2 years later? Is work still trying to not fail, or is more work trying to succeed now?
So, I mean, I think to be fair, when you sift through all the entries and you're left with the winners, be they bronze, silver, gold, you see the work that was trying to succeed. There's a lot of work that gets weeded out that you can tell was trying not to fail. I think that the finalists at least prove that people are trying to do something different to win. But generally, there's been an undercurrent and a conversation in the country about the quality of the work in our industry. And to answer your question, I think we're still sitting at a place where the bulk of the work, certainly more than we are comfortable with, is trying to not fail.
Yes.
So we've got a lot of work to do.
So for somebody on the outside looking in on sort of the Effie's judging process, it looks and feels very complex. Can you take us into how rigorous that judging process is?
So it's quite intense, as I said, and I think even anyone who has judged understands this. So, you know, the submissions are all made and the judges' lists are compiled and then they're broken up. I think, to simplify it, I think every entry that you judge as an individual judge. You need to not glance over it, because to be fair to the submission, the work, and to the other judges on the panel, you have to be very thorough. So unlike the usual creative awards, which you have maybe one board, maybe a 2-minute video, there's a lot of detail in these entries. And it's only fair, and I find it very commendable, that I have my 2 years experience being as chair at the Effies, that the judges by and large have dedicated enough time sifting through each case in detail, and then they have maybe 15 to 30, depending on that particular category, to go through, and then again in the second round and in the final round. So it's extremely intense, and it only makes you appreciate the writers and the authors of these case studies, which are the strategists that usually come out of the agency. So it is very intense, it is extremely thorough, it is very detailed, and I think it's only fair that they judged with that sort of love and care for us to, be confident to give winners.
There's this growing sentiment that we are doing far too much work, putting far too much out there, bombarding the consumer with a lot of work, leaving very little breathing room for the consumer themselves and the people in agencies to have time to really think through the work, to deliver work. Do you think we're producing too much, firstly? Is the sheer volume of work that we're putting out there making it harder for the consumer to see stand out, really remarkable creative work?
Try and keep the answer short, but I think it's a proliferation of media and platforms now compared to when I was a young gangster, when we had only maybe 3 or 4 channels, a couple of magazines and a few radio stations with the digital. So I think that's contributing to the large volume. That's one. The second thing is I believe that clients are throwing more money than they should, right? So let me qualify that.
Right.
Is that there's a guaranteed success if you spend X amount of money to reach X amount of people. I come from the school of thought that if you create one piece of amazing creative work, that it has the ability to go viral and hence becomes more cost effective. Secondly, it gives consumers something worth looking at, because we're all trying to dodge ads. Nobody loves ads. Everybody hates it. So I think it's a combination of the media proliferation, and I'll say that clients are maybe, coming back to your first point, a little afraid to try something that's high impact. So what you do is you fall into a sense of comfort by spending more to guarantee the results that money buys you.
So one of the things Pepe Marais said in one of our conversations is that really impactful work costs a lot. It costs more than the less impactful, let me put it like that, the less effective work. Looking at it from now that, of course, you're doing a lot of consulting to brands and agencies, what's the sentiment on spending more for more impact on work that can be flighted more often, can be flighted for longer, which is something that even Mark Ritson, I think, mentioned in somewhere. I think I saw something on LinkedIn that really work that is really distinct can be flighted for longer than work that is less so. What's the sentiment from a client and agency perspective on spending more on less work?
So I mean that's the sum. I mean, Pepe talks about spending a lot more to produce a better piece of content. Right? He's talking about production budget mainly, that you put in so that you get what you pay for. So you get the best directors, the best photographers, the best creative people to create a piece of work, which inverted commas costs more. But I mean, I almost feel embarrassed to say this because clients know this. Somehow don't respond to it, and it's because of the fear factor. But it's more expensive, it's more costly to spend more money on more things than more money on one thing that's more effective, or two things that are more effective. So in this case, I get Pepe's point, and I agree with the point he's making, but I'm qualifying what he's saying, is that to put out a lot of really mediocre work is not just expensive from a financial point of view. But the biggest expense that seems to escape CEOs and CMOs is that it's more expensive to the brand's currency and reputation. So if you see a lot of mediocre to bad work coming from one brand, it affects the way you feel about that brand.
It becomes vanilla wallpaper.
Exactly. And the short-termism that's happening right now, and you can put a big price on something, you'll sell that out. But there is a damage to the brand that resides in the consumer's heart. So I find that theory, even though it provides the clients and the brands with the results that they need, inverted commas, I think it's costing, and inevitably what happens is brands get damaged down the line when the competition becomes more tough. They start losing positions and market share. Then suddenly brands go, we need to do some branding work.
Yes.
So you shouldn't wait until the damage happens. You should be proactively building brand. And nobody's thinking about brand building exercises anymore. Everyone is trying to do an ROI on short term. Everyone's chasing quarters.
Yes.
And damaging brands in the long term.
Why is that though? Is it because one of the arguments that I've heard on the show is sometimes it's also because agencies are paid less, so they have to chase the next paycheck more and more and more and more often for the relationship to be sustainable with the brand, but also because brands want to see themselves out there more and more often, they kind of want the more work. Where's the balance? Like, why is this happening, even though there are so many cases that prove that building brand alongside the short-term work really works? Like, why have we changed? It's no secret that South Africa is one of the most unequal countries in the world, and that inequality shows itself most visibly in schools, especially in townships and rural areas. That's why as the lead creative, we are proud to collaborate with Threads for Ikasi, a foundation whose cause is close to our hearts. They provide school uniforms, dignity packs, and other essential items to children in under-resourced communities, helping them go to school feeling confident, with pride and dignity. On this show, we talk about how creativity and brands shape the world. Threads for Ikasi does exactly that, shaping futures one child at a time. Because when a child walks into a classroom feeling confident, it changes everything. It changes how they view themselves, how they learn, and it transforms how they imagine what's possible. These are future leaders, future creatives, and future agents of change. To help them show up as their best selves, visit threadsforikasi.org and sponsor a child today. Let's help them where it matters most. Check the link in the description and sponsor a child. Enjoy the rest of this episode. Suddenly.
I don't know if we've changed, we've just gone to an extreme. And I think the reason, when you're in tough economic climates,
Yes.
and brands are chasing bottom lines because they have to chase harder than ever before. Because things are tough.
Yeah.
That forces brands and products and businesses to chase the short term.
Yeah.
Right? So you go like, I'm going to discount, I'm going to do promotions, and I need lots of work out there. And so they're chasing that short term goal because the boards and the shareholders are demanding it in a very tough environment. So that's one of the biggest problems.
Yeah.
The other problem, I believe, is that no one wants to lose their 13th check. Sounds really weird. And so
Yes.
no one wants to lose their bonuses. So no one's going to rock the boat and go for something that is safely going to deliver the results. And I think the brands that do it well are the most successful ones. You name the brand. But they'll do an equal amount, or not, I don't want to say 50-50, but they put as much emphasis on, they understand the importance of brand work alongside with retail. And that's always been the relationship. Take some of the biggest brands in the world. We saw a VW case.
Yes.
VW doesn't slow down on its brand work.
Yeah.
Right? But it doesn't shy away from putting prices on their dealership either.
Yeah.
But in combo,
Yes.
you're doing the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the problems is people are chasing a quick result. And so the only way you can get a quick result, because I come in as a creative advisor and I say, you need to build your brand.
Yeah.
You need 40 million rand to do it over 5 years.
Yes.
They're like, listen here, my shareholders want an increase now.
Yeah.
And that's how it's a knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
That's becoming the problem. We can't solve directly the economic issue and situation in South Africa. But we also learned from history that even in recessions, the brands that stuck their budget, media budgets kept spending.
Yeah.
And they kept doing brand love work, came out on the other side superseding their competitors who dropped it. So the evidence is there,
Yeah.
but the patience isn't.
Yeah.
So, and like I say, coming back to my point, the 13th check's always only a few months away,
Yes.
right? And I feel like that's one of the problems. I may be speaking out of turn, but hey,
Yeah.
I do that a lot.
You were also jury president at the Loeries radio category
Yes.
this year. Firstly, how did that experience compare to this experience, first of all? And what did you see in radio that truly stood out to make radio as impactful in a time when we seemingly listen to less and less of it?
So from a process point of view, the two are quite different in that Effie is far more thorough with detail, and the submissions have lots of reading to do. It's also very much more results focused, obviously.
Yes.
So that requires your criteria to change in terms of whether a piece of creative work had produced the results based on the insight and the strategy and all the things. So Effie's is far more thorough in that way. The Loeries, the process. Oh, and the other difference is that Effie's, as chairperson of or co-chair of the Effies, I'm not allowed to vote.
Right.
At the Loeries, as president of the jury, I am allowed to vote. The difference there is it's a far more international panel. So you get people from Middle East and the rest of Africa and South Africa, and so and it is very much focused on the creative quality and the freshness of the idea. So that's where the two are different.
Right.
I think what's similar about them, and I think the Effies is bridging that gap closer and closer in South Africa, certainly of the world, is the creative requirement in Effies. It has to be creatively beautiful to qualify for a gold award.
Right.
It's not just things that work.
Yeah.
So it happens that the best work with the best results also happen to be creative, right? Which makes the point for that. So I think that's it. You asked me about radio.
Yeah.
I think the feeling in the room, in my panel, was that the quality of the South African radio is not nearly as high as we have been historically.
Yeah, and we used to be legendary where
Killer.
that's concerned.
So anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
people are like, ooh, South Africa radio. Right?
Yes.
And so the feeling amongst judges in the room and outside the room was that radio is not as hot as before.
Yeah.
My personal feeling is that we have kind of resorted to trends a little bit. So like, you get that voice.
Yeah.
Because one voiceover artist is probably does the bulk of the work. So I think we got stuck in the trend versus like our success was based on us trying to be very distinctive and very different in radio every year.
Right.
And so there wasn't time for a trend to settle. We created an amazing type of work.
Yes.
And that won, and a year or two later there was a different type of work that won.
Right.
And so on. And now what you're finding is a lot of the similar stuff. And then I thought that like there were one or two really strong winners.
Right.
And some of them that the group perhaps didn't vote golds, voted lower, that I was a big fan of, and that's, I suppose, the process. But I think there's the good work was great, but it's less than ever before. And there's a lot more good work, nice work, that needs to shift into a special place. And I think that's the feeling of the industry. I don't think anyone disagrees. At award shows, you will always have people who disagree with who won.
Yeah.
Starting at the Grammys to the Effies.
Yeah.
Right? That's just the way it is. But I think the general sentiment in this country, and without being alarmist, is that we need to pull our socks up creatively.
Yeah.
And we know there's a number of reasons. We've spoken about this. Everyone's talking about how to fix it. If one person had the solution, they would be very wealthy right now.
Yeah.
But it is cyclical, and we've just got to keep trying harder.
Yeah. Are you seeing any trends in the winning work? Anything that kind of stands out that a marketer watching this should be paying attention to over the next year? You've been on juries on both ends. Here in the Loeries, you see the work from every other award show out there, from Cannes to Effie's to everything else. Are there any trends in the winning work generally that you're spotting, that you're seeing, and think marketers should be paying attention to?
So I really dislike that, right? Trends.
Yeah.
Because I think that's kind of completely opposed to what creativity is. Creativity is freshness. It can never be a trend. It's so that's the first principle. I think that we have gotten caught into trends because we've seen at international award shows like the Effies globally and Cannes and others, the type of work that wins, the requirements that are in them. So we've gone through a phase where it's got to be technical, technological, digital.
Yes.
Right? It's got to also have some kind of purpose and for good.
Yeah.
And you've got to solve some kind of global issue, human issue. And then on top of that, creative trends, whatever those are, AI has become a bit of a trend. Like either use it or don't use it and call it out.
Yeah.
And so my point is that the minute you start doing that, you may succeed for 1 year, but it's not sustainable. I think by definition, and I do a lot of the stuff, so I keep changing my definition of it. But like by definition, I believe a creative human or creativity is distinction, is difference.
Right.
Right? There are lots of definitions. But in the absence of distinction or difference, it cannot possibly be creative. So I urge anyone who's willing to listen to me is to try to be different before anything else. And by the way, coming back to your point about too much out there, it makes the case for wanting to be different enough so that you cut through all the, I hate to say it, you know the term. So we're really trying to, I have to say that's the key. The key is...
Cut through the paper? Things to cut through?
You put a poll and see what you get. If anyone mentions clutter, don't give them the award. But cut through the clutter. So I think it's essential that I had a chat just now with someone outside and I was just like have fun. And make sure whatever you're doing is just different as a starting point. And clients, I can't stress this enough to clients, man. Like you got to be, I said in my speech, you have to be obsessed, not just with greatness, you got to be obsessed with looking, feeling, and presenting yourself in a different way. Because it goes beyond me. To want to create anything that seems familiar. Why? Why would you put yourself on air knowing that you look or feel like something else?
Yes.
How does that make financial sense? When by nature, by definition, by role, by purpose, a marketer has to find the white space. That's the job, positioning, find an open space. And yet, I wrote this one post once, but it seems like we're trying so hard to make all our ads look more like ads.
This is true.
Why are we doing that? So I mean, the summary, the takeout, is like, if you're not different, you're dead.
And I think I remember you said that before. I think while the definition keeps changing, that has remained the same. Has remained the same. So we usually ask our guests to leave a question for our next guest as a way of passing the mic to our next guest. And one of our previous guests was Seth Godin, the marketing legend who's written very many books. He didn't really leave a question, but in his book, This is Strategy, when I spoke to him, he mentions that sometimes brands think they have a marketing problem when in fact they have a strategy problem. So I suppose the question for you is, how do you know when a brand has a strategy rather than a marketing problem? Because in his view, sometimes too much marketing, too much advertising on a brand that has a strategy problem can actually be detrimental. How do you diagnose the fact that you have a strategy, not a marketing problem?
Whenever I approach any type of marketing campaign, I'm more interested in what the business objective is. I want to understand why we're having this conversation. What's your problem? What's keeping you up at night? And I find that if the business has a problem, you've got a strategy problem. Right? You can have a marketing solution, but you have a strategy problem. I can think of a couple of businesses that I think, because of the history and legacy in creating great communication and advertising, believe that the answer is that. I believe that they've got a strategy problem, they've got a business problem. And the business tells you when you have one or the other. When you've got an amazing product,
Yeah.
right? And they've got the research and the results for it. When you've got a great product that people love,
Yeah.
let me put it this way. You get two types of products or brands. You get those that are so good that the advertising needs to catch up to it.
Yes.
And then you get those where the marketing is so good that the product needs to catch up to it.
Right.
And there lies the problem, is that if you have a fundamental business problem,
Yeah.
marketing can help.
Yeah.
But you got to start its strategy first.
Yeah.
Because maybe it's not marketing in its broader sense is experience, is the product. Maybe it's that part, not the communications.
Right. Right.
So I would look at the problem in the business, not the problem in the marketing department.
Ahmed, thanks so much for making time. I know I kept you for way longer than
was it?
I was supposed to. Now it's your turn to pass a question to our next guest by asking a question about their creative process, creativity, marketing, maybe even life.
I will ask a very cryptic question, right? Because I think it's symptomatic of the problem in our industry.
Yeah.
But whoever your next guest is in our larger industry,
Yeah.
will you ask them what's stopping them from having fun
What's stopping them from having fun?
at work?
Yeah.
Well, if they want to talk about life, that's fine. But
Yeah.
because I believe that that's the reason everything is suffering. No one's joining our industries. No one wants to stay in the agencies. No one wants to get into marketing. No one wants to get into advertising. And the work is crap.
Yeah.
Because no one is enjoying the process. And there was a time when we worked harder than ever before, but we were loving what we're doing. So ask the next guest, what's stopping them from having fun at work?
Ahmed, thanks so much.
My pleasure.
For joining us. It was really great, and I loved hearing your speech there while you were talking as before the awards were handed out. Thanks so much for making time.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.